Hey guys, Zedd here, bringing you something a little different today. Not Soul Calibur related necessarily, or Shanghua related. Today I want to talk to you guys about the Hitbox. I know there's a lot of Hitbox reviews out there, and I know that, I may not be able to say anything mind-blowing or different, but I just kind of want to give my 2 cents as I've had this thing for a few months now, and it's actually done a lot for me. It's done exactly what I wanted it to do for me, and it's actually done more than I anticipated. And I'll explain what all that is throughout the video. I'll try not to make it terribly long, because like I said, there's lots out there, so I'll kind of be repeating what other people say probably, but I'll just give you my 2 cents on it. So first off, I just want to explain why I got the Hitbox, and then kind of some things to think about before you decide to get one. So first, the reason I got the Hitbox in the first place was so first off, I went right from pad to Hitbox. I've never played on a stick, nor do I desire to, um, or want to. I don't have a desire to do that. Anyway, and I'll get into that later. I played on a pad before, and it's fine. And a lot of people say, oh, well, it's because you're using your thumbs for all the buttons. No, that's not an issue for me. My issue was something else entirely. I have permanent injuries due to various parts of my body due to playing sports growing up. And one of the issues is my back, my neck, and my fingers. So my fingers, they, from being in the position of holding the controller, it would be very kind of crammed up back here, right? All your fingers kind of wrapped around. It didn't work for me. I played on pad for years. I've never done anything different, like I said, but it was only really starting to bother me recently, within the last year or so. So that was main reason one. Main reason two is because I find myself constantly leaning forward in my chair when I play on a pad, and I would look around at all these other stick and hitbox players, and they, because you have this big object on your lap, uh, they're not leaning forward because frankly they can't. So that was interesting to me because my back and neck were getting quite sore after long play sessions, or even at tournament. Um, if I was doing well and I have to wait for a bit for top eight or whatever, my fingers would start cramping, my back would start hurting, and then it would just throw me off my game, and it was really unpleasant. So, pardon me, still getting over a cold. So that was kind of the three main reasons. So my hands, my neck, and my back, all in all, to say my posture. So it wasn't the fact that, you do it all with your thumbs. It's not that at all. I had no difficulty. I didn't even really encounter that many input errors with the pad like a lot of people say they do. Um, I didn't have such struggle. So that's the reason why I wanted to swap off the pad. Now, doing the research into stick versus hitbox, I came across a few key arguments. The first in favor of the stick was saying that the joystick is more natural. It's easier to do things like double full circles, so 720s that you sometimes find in games like DOA or Street Fighter, things like that. And then just that the stick, like I said, felt more natural, but then you could also, it would still fix the ergonomic issue because you can kind of flex your hand in different ways. You can kind of hold it like a wine glass, or you can just hold it from top down like this, right? Or like this, or some people just kind of do this. Some people just kind of flick their joystick and hold it from behind, something like that. I don't know. And then they pull it. I don't know. My issue with stick in the first place was the fact that I've tried using a joystick before, and I did not feel comfortable on the two-player side. Doing things like a quarter circle forward, so 2-3-6, or down down forward forward, or down forward, whatever your game's notation calls it. I struggled to do down forward, right? Down forward. I couldn't really do that motion this way. This way was fine. I didn't have an issue with that. But again, because my hands, right, and the cramping up of just having my hand closed like this was causing me issues. So again, holding onto the joystick did not help. I tried out a few friends, sticks for a few games, and it just was not feeling great. Which, leads right into the hitbox. Just before I get into the specifics of the hitbox, I will say this. It has a huge adjustment period for most people. Maybe it's being overhyped. I took simply 4 days to be tournament ready with this thing. I'm not kidding. I received it 4 days before a monthly, and I went to the monthly and I used the hitbox and I got third. Like it, it, it does kind of depend on the game you're playing, I guess. But I will say that it's not a, don't just listen to everybody saying, "Oh, it's going to take you months to get back to your current skill level." No. It depends on the person, depends on your game, it depends on your dedication to the hitbox, and yeah, things like that. So don't buy into that BS. Just anyway, so that out of the way. I went right from pad to hitbox. I will say this, if you're going from stick to hitbox, obviously you're going to have a bit of an easier time because you're already used to having these keys over here. So you're only going to have to fuss now with the movement keys. Um, but instead, I opted to go from this to this. And that was a pretty big change. The hardest part for me actually wasn't the movement keys. It was actually the things on the right, for me anyway, which was a bit weird. And I will say though that having the up movement function being down here as opposed to say up here is a little counterintuitive, but at the end of the day, it makes sense. I've had some people say, "Oh, well, I'll just go in and swap the function of the down and the up if I play on PC." I'm like, "Well, you could do that, but then your 236 or your 214s or your fireballs forward or backward are going to become super awful." Um, so don't do that. Just leave it the way it is. Anyway, kind of jumping ahead. Hitbox. Hitbox is great. First off, I was complaining about my posture. It fixed my posture. So now when I play, my back is almost fully in the chair. I mean, there's a little bit of a hunch, but that's just kind of the natural comfort position, right? Um, and then it obviously fixes my hands being all cramped up like this as they're all spread out like that. And then the last thing is it fixes my neck as well, again, for the same reason as my back. Um, First off, if you notice that it's at a bit of a weird angle, it's because I have a laptop. My laptop is tilted, so I've had to rotate this up. This is flat on my lap. This is facing the camera, by the way. So just let's get that out of the way. Um, like I said, it took me less than a week to get comfortable with this. To get back to optimal performance, though, that one definitely took 2 or 3 weeks. Just of, daily play sessions, nothing crazy. Um, I will go out on a whim and say that the Hitbox is by far the best peripheral that you can buy. And I will also say that any peripheral you buy is fine. It there I don't buy into the BS that there's an advantage to having one over the other because truly I don't believe that. However, I will say that the hitbox leaves no room for unintended input error. Now, what I mean by that is the fact it's all a button-based system means any input error you make, is your fault, and it's not the game's buffer system, it's not the game, it's not anything. It's that you're applying too much pressure on more than one of your keys at a time. Which is why when you're playing on the hitbox, it's important to actually just have piano, or not piano, excuse me. It's important to just float your hands, right? So you don't want to actually be applying pressure to any of the keys. And frankly, you'd rather just have them not even touching the buttons if you can help it. But it is going to be up to your comfort, obviously. When I'm playing, my wrists and palms are not touching the hitbox. It is a very small device. Um, I was trying to come up with a good way to put that in perspective, but I would say it's about as large as a keyboard. It may even be a bit smaller this way, widthwise. Um, Lengthwise, I will say that when the hitbox is on your lap, like so, again, sorry for the funky angle, but your palms should not be resting on the hitbox like this. Okay. They can if you're just like casually going through the menus and setting up your training mode and all that. But when you're actually in a game and like playing, it's important to make sure that your fingers are all just raised like this. Now you don't have to position your hands the way I do. So I'll move into that topic. So there is an argument between the 2D fighting games and the 3D fighting games of how to set up your hands when you're playing on a hitbox because this is the up button. And in a 2D fighter, the up button generally strictly correlates with a jump function or maybe like a down up function. So you don't really need to hit it as often as you do in a 3D fighter because in a 3D, of course, your 2-2 and your 8-8 or your down-down or your up-up, pardon me, are sidestep functions like games like Tekken, DOA, and Soul Calibur 6. So for me in a 3D fighter, I definitely had to adjust to the fact that I was going to be using this thumb as my movement option. However, there are many, many players who play on Hitbox who opt to just use this thumb, or they'll even alternate depending on comfort and what they want to do. And that's totally up to you. Personally, I would argue that, your left hand has one job. It's the movement keys. I would just keep it like this, and now you don't have to worry about it. But that is me. That is my opinion. It is 100% up to you. I've seen players at my locals even, they'll just play kind of like this. They'll kind of hold the base of the hitbox because it's comfortable for them, or they'll just let their thumbs kind of rest off the edge, and then they only have to worry about left down right, left down right, left down right. And if they ever had to jump, they don't typically use their thumb on any of the white keys. Instead, they'll kind of flex, their buttons here, and then, oh, I have to hit that. Oh, right? So that is still an option for you. It's 100% up to your comfort level. And I keep iterating that because I don't want people thinking there's only one way to use the hitbox. No, that's baloney. You can do whatever you want. Playing in Soul Calibur, I find it's easier for me just to have my thumbs on guard, horizontal A, vertical B, kick K, and then my pinky finger I just have as reversal edge, which is B plus G, simply because that this simultaneous press is a bit tricky for me, just because of my hands. So I have that on my pinky finger. But you could do things like you could put your special on there. You could put your taunt button on there, because you absolutely have to have a taunt button. Mine is here. If you don't, you're trash. So yeah, there's that. Um, that's one option. However, when I play Mortal Kombat, I'll end up actually dropping this thumb altogether and just using my hand, probably twist it outwards a little bit, but it'll be something in the realm of, doing these 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, punch, punch, kick, kick. And then my block button, pardon me, my block button will be one of these guys here. Not really sure yet, still working on that, but the point is I'm going to actually just drop this thumb altogether, and who knows, I may, dabble with the idea of having jump on this thumb because it's really clunky to have two thumbs here, and I'm not a big fan of that. So who knows, I may end up dropping it and just, try to get used to that. But that's an option. Enough on that, enough on how to put your hands. TLDR, it's 100% up to you. If you want to use these bottom four buttons instead, you can do that. Now your thumb is completely out of the way. If you want to use these top five buttons, that's up to you. It's all up to you. With that said, the buttons are very sensitive. They're very lightweight. They press down with no difficulty, and trust me when I say, if you're doing long play sessions and you're getting a little tired, you may find yourself holding, left or back or yeah, accidentally, or forward or back accidentally on 2P side, and it's because the buttons are so dang sensitive. At least the movement keys, they're a little more sensitive than the white buttons I've noticed, that you really have to be on the ball. So the hitbox for long play sessions can be quite tiring, I will admit. I've had this thing now for months, probably 5 or 6 months, and I still find my fingers kind of like I find myself doing this just because, you know, playing like this all day long, long play sessions, high APM, depending on the game again, can be quite exhausting. So just note that frequent stretching is recommended, and finding your comfortable way to put your hands is also very, very important. In terms of these buttons here, I don't really know what they all do on a PS4 as I play on PC, but I know that when I go to tournaments, this is start, and this is no, this is the options button for when you're selecting your profile. Other than that, I have no idea what these other ones are for. It doesn't really matter to me. The current model of Hitbox, at least I believe the one I have is the current one as at the time of this video, has detachable cable, which is really nice. Some of them didn't have a detachable cable. And the end of it looks like, see if I can get a good image of it. It's one of these guys with the prongs. So the prongs, eh, not great. But the point is, you can see it's quite reinforced, and it's very secure because you have to pull this back in order to even take it off of the hitbox in the first place. So you're not going to get your cord accidentally popping out, or this thing is really chunky. Like, I don't know if it's really well represented here on my terrible setup. Again, I do apologize. I wish I could have done this with a normal webcam, but I'm trying. Um, it's really chunky and it's beefy, but in a good way. It's very durable. It's not going to fall out. It's not going to break. And the wiring itself is very reinforced, but flexible. So I'm really impressed with this cord. Um, it's a lot thicker than the normal standard USB port, and I think that it is one of the better ones out there. I know some people care about that kind of stuff, so I just thought I'd mention it. In terms of the Hitbox Smashbox relationship, as that's one of their newer products due to Smash Ultimate being as big as it is, um, you're basically playing on a keyboard at that point. The Smashbox has all these weird buttons down here, and that has to do with like hit sticks or sorry, your C stick and stuff. And I'm no Smash player, so forgive me for the layman's terms, but like that's how you do your strong attack or your charged attacks, as opposed to doing a direction and a button and holding it. You can choose to just tap those with your thumb. The Smashbox also has the WASD setup, so it has up, left, down, right, up, left, down, right. So you're going to position it like you're playing um, with WASD on your keyboard. You can do that, or you can just have it on, again, down, left, up, and tap up when you need it. The Smashbox is cool, but honestly, it's like playing on keyboard, and I don't know, it's okay, I guess, but I think having your fingers more spread out, like on the Hitbox, even though they're close together, they're more spread out than the Smashbox, is a bit better. But again, that's an opinion thing. I can't really comment on the Smashbox. I don't know anyone who has one, so I can't say for sure. On the topic of the Hitbox and the Hitbox brand, as you can see, this is the Hitbox brand Hitbox. You can buy your own, or you can make your own, or you can buy from a third party and like customize it and spread the buttons out and get bigger buttons. You can do all that jazz. But here's the deal. I did the digging, I talked to a lot of people, and I went on their website and I contacted some of the Hitbox sponsors and people who work on the device itself. Hitbox was designed with the sole purpose of being an ergonomic device. So, what that means is it's designed, when used properly, to be optimal for both gameplay and health. So, for me, I have zero desire to pick up a different or custom version with maybe these farther apart, or maybe these buttons bigger, or maybe these ones more spread out, or maybe these ones more spread out. I don't want any of that. And the reason why is because they have done the science, they have done the research, I have seen some of the research, and it I don't want to mess with that. Again, my reasoning for buying the Hitbox was for ergonomics. If your purpose is just you want to spend a fortune on a controller you don't need, eh, eh. But if you're interested in, setting, like if you want to, what I meant by that, I should say, is if you want something that just looks cool because to have it, I mean, sure, whatever. Go with one where you can change the art. This is a plexiglass surface. I don't know if it's removable. I imagine it probably is, but as of right now, Hitbox doesn't have any sleeves or covers. But if you want to like seriously invest in the Hitbox, I would just recommend the Hitbox because it is built with a purpose and function in mind. That's not to flame people who don't have the Hitbox brand. That's just my opinion. Again, this whole video is my opinion, and that is my 2 cents on that matter. In terms of game viability, I would argue that Hitbox is by far the best choice for, pardon me, every fighting game on the market. There are many, many Hitbox videos on YouTube. I believe they're called Hitbox Arcade. Um, it is the video playlist. I could be wrong. And a lot of them are very good. They're good at showing you kind of how to do it and what to do it. But frankly, things like semicircles, quarter circles, double full circles, really weird movements. Like there's a character in Soul Calibur 6 named Ivy. She has very weird input grabs. Um, and if you want to do it on a pad, you can just rotate on the thumb pad really quick, or on stick, same thing, you can just rotate the joystick. Obviously, you can't do that on the Hitbox. So instead, you have to kind of piano the four buttons in a certain direction, depending on what you're doing, or you have to do multi-simultaneous inputs, depending on what you're doing. Once you understand your execution on the Hitbox, it is ridiculously fast and easy. But some of the more common ones, right? Such as down forward or down up, right? Or down forward forward. So sometimes you have to just release it all together if it's a quarter circle forward, right? So that's easy on a hitbox because it's just a matter of, right? You can do this immediately, literally. And depending on your game, you can even just do diagonal release the down. So it's literally just a two movement thing. but some games are a little more demanding. If it's a semicircle backwards, da da da, release, release, go. Because remember, holding 2 down is a diagonal input, holding 1 is a single input. So sometimes you have to go da 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 da, depending on your game. Some games allow you to do semicircles just by having 1 3 1, and what I mean by that is 1 3 1. So it looks something like this, right? You can kind of do whatever you want. I've just done it with a piano system so long that it's actually difficult for me to demonstrate the opposite way. There we go. Right, it just depends. For the record, if the buttons are coming through on the mic, they're not actually that loud. That's a good opportunity to mention. The buttons are not that loud. They are just loud because I'm trying to make a point with the buttons. But you could actually play this thing totally, somewhat anyway, silently and be fine, right? And that's kind of the beauty of it. It does depend on the player. I wouldn't say anyone consciously decides to slam the keys or not. It's more just up to you. But yeah, they're not loud keys. They're very sensitive keys. They're really durable keys, actually. I've already spilt something on my Hitbox, rip, and cleaning it off was no trouble. There's no stickiness, residue, no nothing. So other than that, I will say that I think the Hitbox is a fantastic investment if you are looking to either fix your ergonomics or you're looking to kind of try something new and you're not really a fan of stick. Or again, in my opinion, I would argue Hitbox is the most competitively viable peripheral on the market. And I strictly say that because in a clutch situation where you're playing on pad and your thumb is hovering all 4 of the keys, you may get um, your diagonal input when all down, down forward, or 3, depending on your game again, when really you just meant to get 6 or forward, right? Or even 2 or forward. And so I have seen those clutch moments in tournament play. I've even had them where you flubbed up on your movement because you're playing on a pad and you didn't even mean to, and it's not your fault. It's just the way the pad is designed. It's very tight on its directions, and now you lose. Stick is fine. So I guess I should say the reason I didn't go for a stick, other than the fact I don't like the joystick, is it's there's so many different ones to buy, and there's so much to look at, like pros and cons, the weight, the thickness, the beefiness, the joystick's range of motion, the style of joystick. Like I might even be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's an American style, a Japanese style, and a Korean style. You know, one is a diamond, one is a square, and one is a like a octagon that has all 8 directions. I believe that's correct. I could be wrong. And to me, I'm not interested in any of that because it makes some directions easier than others. But then if you're playing on an octagon, it's the same problem where you might accidentally flub up your directions. So for me, I had no interest in the joystick because there was so flippin' many to choose from, and I did not want to decide between American, Korean, and Japanese, and I didn't want to deal with any of that bullshit. Uh, so it was really important to me just to get the right one for ergonomics, and that is what the Hitbox brand of Hitbox does for you. If you're suffering from any kind of body pain from long play sessions, I'm sure, like, you could name something, I was probably dealing with it. You could name a pain because you're playing, I probably have it. The Hitbox helps alleviate or even completely remove a lot of those pains. Yes, you have growing pains of getting used to a new peripheral, obviously. However, once it works out, it's really awesome. And so far, I've had zero complaints about the Hitbox. Um, and it's just a really excellent tool and it allows full input accuracy. So I do appreciate your time. It was a bit off tangent. I was kind of just going off my brain. Do have a few notes beside me here, but that's just my opinion on the Hitbox. Like I didn't get into the specific tech specs because again, you can find that online. I just wanted to bring my opinion to the matter. Um, I think that's a fantastic peripheral, and I think you should consider it if you're looking at something other than a pad, or maybe you're tired of your stick. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching, guys. Comment below with your thoughts or ask any questions if you want. I'm always looking at the comments. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a good day.